And thank you for joining our webinar today, Insurance Gets Agentic, a framework for success. Really pleased to have you all with us today. So before we begin, a few matters of protocol. We're not expecting any fire alarms today, so if you hear an alarm, please do what you need to do. Look after yourselves, but otherwise settle in for what's going to be a really fascinating and educational half hour. So let me introduce you to the team presenting today. Myself, I'm the insurance sector portfolio lead at Dufrain. I'm joined by Fraser Black and Jamie Turner.
Yeah, I'll just introduce myself as well. My name is Fraser. I head up the solution and innovation side of Dufrain, and I'm also the tech insurance lead for Dufrain as well, and work really closely with Owen across our portfolio of insurance clients.
I'm Jamie Taylor, so I'm a cloud and AI platform lead in our insurance and investments team here at Microsoft, which essentially means I look after all our Azure capabilities for my customers. Obviously, with events of the last 2 years or so, a large portion of my time is spent on focusing on AI solutions, helping customers to maximize their investments in our technologies.
Thank you both. So together, we're going to walk you through what agentic AI really means for insurance and what we're seeing across the market and how organizations can move from the hype to real value. Before we jump into that, just a quick overview of who Dufrain are and who we are. So we are a leading pure play data consulting firm. We help organizations across the full data maturity spectrum, everything from data strategy and unified data foundations, through to analytics, data science, and AI. We're really proud to support a wide range of major insurance organizations across the market, and we've developed a really strong partnership with Microsoft over many years. We're a data and AI designated partner with Microsoft, and due to this, we're able to offer funding for our customers through Microsoft. Please look us up online and contact us if you'd like to learn more. So let's jump into the topic of today. What is agentic AI? So I'm sure we've all heard the term. We all know it's of peak interest in the industry. Just to make sure we're all thinking about it in the same way, it really refers to AI systems that can autonomously execute multi-step workflows with minimal human input. So in simple terms, it's the next evolution of automation. It's AI that doesn't just answer questions, but actually does the work for us. So they can do things like pull data from multiple systems. It can reason and make decisions, it can update processes, and it can take end-to-end actions automatically. And why is that such an opportunity for the insurance industry? It's just very much based on the nature of the industry itself. The opportunity is enormous because it addresses so many long-standing challenges, things around operational efficiency, faster and smarter decision-making, and enables new business models and richer customer experiences. Just to bring this to life, I've summarized some of the things that we're seeing in the market across the value stream. Everything from product and proposition design through to portfolio risk and capital management. There's agents being trialed and applied across the value chain. And the focus for today is going to be particularly around the underwriting and pricing and distribution and marketing. And that's where we're going to jump in with a use case. Next slide. Themes we're seeing in the market right now is the complexity of agentic AI is proving really challenging. So firstly, building these complex multi-agent solutions is really hard. And insurance organizations have diverse systems, fragmented processes, varying data quality, all of which make enterprise scale agentic AI really challenging. And secondly, teams are struggling to identify the right use cases that deliver real value. And I think that's why so many AI programs are struggling to deliver real impact. So ultimately, we're seeing a really strong appetite to move fast, but there's absolutely a gap between the ambition and the execution. So Jamie, really interested to understand what you're seeing and whether you're seeing similar themes across the industry.
Yeah, I think that broadly chimes with what we're seeing. I'd say the broad landscape I'm seeing is that organizations now have mastered those use cases and patterns that you would associate with what I call the first phase of Gen AI. So they've got good RAG, chat type solutions in production. And then in terms of agents, it's actually quite timely. Just last week, we held a virtual roundtable with various financial services customers on this very subject. So it's a good opportunity to kind of get a temperature check of where people are up to. And I would say that the key message we heard is that people are they're getting some simple agents in production quite successfully, but if we look at more complex solutions, they are getting stuck at POC phase quite often. It's often in danger of being a solution looking for a problem. So finding that right use case, getting strong engagement from business stakeholders is key to progression. And then more on the technical side of things, I think some of the specific technical challenges people are facing with these multi-agent type solutions are things like integrating diverse tools and APIs with different formats and interfaces, a lack of interoperability across the various platforms that these agents need to access, and then scalability constraints. As I say, it's quite simple to get things up and running in a POC environment, but scaling that to a kind of enterprise-wide solution is proving a little bit more challenging. So next slide, please, Fraser. So if we just take a little bit of a step back and look at Microsoft's holistic approach to agents and agent builds. So I think one of the great things about the range of technology that we have at our disposal at Microsoft is that we're able to meet users where they are in terms of skill set that they want to use to build these agents, also depending on the kind of complexity and sophistication of the agents that they want to build. So going right from the kind of completely no-code approach within Microsoft 365 Copilot, it's possible to build agents there, through a more of a low-code approach in Copilot Studio, right through to what we're going to focus on today, which is in AI Foundry and Azure. So, and in addition, what we're seeing increasingly is people use M365 Copilot as what we like to refer to as the UI for AI. So that's the tool that's in suites of products that people use every day as their normal productivity tools, and it gives them access to these more complex, deeper solutions that are built with a code-first approach. Next slide, please, Fraser. So the focus of what Fraser is going to be showing you today is Agent Framework within Azure AI Foundry, which was announced a couple of months ago. So this essentially is a new open source framework which brings together the best parts of the two existing frameworks we had before, which were Semantic Kernel and AutoGen. And this gives builders two main capabilities. So the ability to build agents which use LLMs to process inputs, call tools, various MCP servers to perform actions and generate responses. And then secondly, workflows, which is really vital. So these connect multiple agents and functions to enable complex, I would say, multi-step tasks and keep those human in the loop approaches which people seem to want to keep to maintain now. And also finally, they include lots of foundational building blocks which can help to fast track the development of these architectures. So Fraser's now going to talk to you in a little bit more detail about how these solutions can work in practice.
Perfect. Thanks very much, Jamie. So as we said, we're going to talk a little bit about the agent framework, and I get the fun job now of bringing everything to life a little bit and how we can actually take things from that POC and take them into production. So just to give a bit of context to how the agent framework sits in your ecosystem, it really is sort of weaving the most powerful parts of Microsoft and Azure and your business together. So sitting at the middle, you've got your agent framework. And then on the right-hand side, you'll have AI Foundry, which is where we can develop our customizable agents, which was in Jamie's diagram earlier. And then we've got Copilot Studio. Now, this is the really important part, because when we talk about taking AI agents to production, they've got the specialized tasks that they have to do, which is obviously often connected to your systems, policy administration systems, and so on. But the production part is actually the business adoption. How do you make it usable and how do you make it surfaceable to the business in a way that they can interact with, that's not a big steep learning curve, that's not in a different solution or different tech stack? So it's about how do we integrate Copilot and AI Foundry, which are two quite distinct platforms, together. Then pulling in different parts of your Microsoft 365 ecosystem, pulling in different parts of Azure, like your SQL databases and other possible AI services. What we really see is it becomes a bit of a powerhouse of potential if you approach it in the right way. And the agent framework allows us to take advantage of all these services available to us. The one thing that I wanted to lean on quite heavily in this is agentic development. When you start to move to the right-hand side of what Jamie was talking about from Copilot to AI Foundry, it moves away from point and click and generic sort of AI LLM interaction to more of a software development interaction. There's a lot more considerations to think about, and how you manage these agents and how you build these agents and the services, and they really are using all the parts of Azure that you're interacting with. And if you think about what we're going to talk about today is all about multi-agent orchestration. Multi-agent, if you think about it, that's actually been around for a while. The term microservices has been around for a long time, how we build up componentized applications. That's a very common way of building software. At the minute, we can update one part without impacting the other part. That is what multi-agent systems are. They're just a smarter way of doing it. And they've just got different actions and different processes that they can do, and they can reason on your behalf. So really, when we talk about multi-agent, we're talking about microservices and this exact same process. So let's now get into a little bit around the demo, the use case, and what we're going to go through today. So this is probably a problem that everyone on the call understands. We're really going to focus on the underwriting process part at the minute. And that's really around, there's a lot of hours and a lot of that are spent by underwriters reviewing submissions, generating quotes, dealing with brokers, and so on. And it's a bottleneck that is there because the underwriters, obviously, knowledge and brain is so integral to the decision and has so many implications if something goes wrong with the risks and the pricing and the premiums that can go out. So there are really important parts in this process that we need to keep the human for. The underwriter is never going to be replaced. However, there are areas that which we can look into these problems where when we were assessing applications for speed, or maybe we're sort of looking to do some reasoning or get some more information on what the problem is, and maybe reduce some of the bottlenecks, where we can start to use AI. And they've got multiple different agents that we can provide to help alleviate those problems. So the future for this is where humans are always required, but actually underwriters are able to train AI agents to assess applications for them. So a new application or submission comes into the business, say specialty insurance, and it's got a submission email, it's got financial statements, it's got the risk registers, it's got all the information that's needed to be supplied. AI can understand the context of what that underwriter would like to know about that submission and provide information back to the underwriter. So it's not making a decision, it's helping to understand. Looking at the quality, the overall requirements and sort of the required assurance means that the agent can reason on behalf of the underwriter as well. So the underwriter retains that critical decision making, but the AI workflow sits at, for the operational tasks. So it's about increasing the productivity and increasing the revenue potential, reducing the amount of time that goes into it, ultimately improving business performance across the chain as well. But it's about how do we build that production grade system. So I'm going to go into the next slide. And before anybody asks, I know this slide goes from right to left and it's different to what a lot of people see, but it will make sense once I get to the end of it. And hopefully you'll agree. So we're going to go through a very simple architecture, high-level architecture of what smart orchestration and AI could look like to solve this underwriting problem. How can we give an underwriter a tool that can score a submission, analyze a submission, and then provide some product suggestions off the back of it? So the first thing that we've mentioned, how do we get that AI into production? Copilot. Copilot is the interface that the underwriter has. It's one agent for everything. That Copilot agent is our orchestrator. It's able to understand what the underwriter is asking. So when Copilot recognizes the intent, and it's then able to send instructions to our orchestration agents. And we've got a little API that we're using inside Azure, which allows us to orchestrate this. But what that means is when Copilot sends the instruction, it can go one of three ways. So all now you're seeing is we've got three agents, the ones that I mentioned, all can be controlled by that one Copilot. We've got our submission scoring, we've got our submission analysis, and we've got our product suggestion agent. These can all handle different requests, but very distinct from each other. Each of these agents has access to a variety of tools, as you would imagine from the different types of jobs that these agents are doing. So our scoring agent our scoring agent has to run some quite complex machine learning and analytical processes over the data. So actually what you're seeing here is that agent might have access to Azure Machine Learning Studio or Microsoft Fabric. It could be Azure Databricks as well. It's really kind of where can we give it the compute to conduct these more analytical based tasks. The analysis agent has access to the OpenAI endpoint to do some summarization. And the product suggested agent has access to Azure AI Search, which then has access to your policy catalog. So you can actually start to suggest what different types of policies or products are suitable for that submission. Each of these agents has access to a specific data source. So the policy administration system, we can hook that up. Azure SQL database for doing the summarization, and our Azure storage where our new submissions come in. And you will now understand why the architecture diagram goes from right to left, because our new submissions come in on the left-hand side. So any new submission that's been submitted by a broker is obviously going to hopefully land in a mailbox or land in some operational system. That submission is automatically saved into our Azure ecosystem. That means our Copilot agents and Azure AI Foundry agents can pick up those submissions without the underwriter needing to touch it. So already what you can see here, we've got end-to-end automation through a multi-agent orchestration that underwriters can use in practice. So what we're going to do now is do a little bit of a live demo of how this works. Always fun doing live demos. So let's just come out of here. And I'm going to go straight into my Teams area. So hopefully you all can see my Teams area now, and I think we're all going to get toggled off. So for simplicity, I've opened this up just in Teams as a separate tab inside my insurance agent, which is the Copilot agent that I've developed, but it would also be available inside Copilot as well. And you can see I've just asked it a couple of questions today just to get you used to how you could interact with it and so on. But what we're going to do is we're actually going to run a scoring process through it. So we're going to provide a company name, and we want it to score the submission for that company and tell us where the application was good and where the application was bad. And then what we're going to do is see what products the AI is suggesting based on some of the things that we've put into our product catalog. So the company that I have is called Tech Forward. Now, they're a completely fake company, so don't look them up. They might, I don't know what they are. And what we're going to ask is we're going to ask to score Tech Forward and give me as much information as possible. Score Tech Forward and give me as much information as possible. So I've now submitted this off to my insurance submission agent. Now, what's happening in the background is that very first AI agent is running. It has now identified the name of the company that it needs to score. It's running the machine learning pipeline, which actually involves going to the storage, getting all the files that are associated with that submission, downloading them all, analyzing them against a set of criteria that the underwriter has trained that AI agent to assess on for that type of company, and provide information back. So we've actually done a bit of pre-work with the underwriter to set the requirements, and then we're able to get the detailed, use the LLM for its power to ask very specific questions. So what you can see here is it's come back and it said, here's a comprehensive score and detailed analysis of Tech Forward. So it's looked at the application. It's scored 95.2 out of 100, and the AI is telling me it's 85% confident that's the right score. So everything's looking pretty high, everything's looking pretty good. But without the underwriter needing to lift a finger, what we're now able to look at is the application form, some of the information that's been provided, such as financial statements, the business plan, the claims history, the submission email, and we can actually see if they were complete and what the AI is telling us in terms of a quality factor. So it demonstrates robust information, it's well documented, 100% complete. But we start to be able to see some gaps. So actually the email that was submitted by the broker had quite a few missing details. Now, we don't quite know what these are. We could go and ask a few questions, but there's a couple of risk assessments that come into it and some recommendations that come out the back of it. So what this allows the underwriter to do is very quickly get a gauge of, is this ready to move forward to a quote? Or do I need to go back to the broker and request some more information, which could also be done through the AI agent? But to round this out, we've now got our information here. Actually, it's pretty good. 95 out of 100 is not a bad place to start. So can you suggest some products for this company? Now, hopefully what's going to come back here is going to look at Tech Forward, look at the information that I provided, and we're going to get some product suggestions based on that type of company that we can, and that means we can go back to the broker and say these different types of insurance are related to it. Now, obviously, this is dummy data, so don't read into it too much, but we're able to see we're a tech company, we've got some technology products coming through, we might look at property insurance, intellectual property insurance, crime insurance, and so on. If this is obviously connected up properly to the product catalog that's obviously defined inside any insurance business, what we've managed to now do is go from an application coming in to an underwriter being able to understand it and get products in front of them within less than 2 minutes. So the time that it takes for if we're in a competitive process and they're going out to multiple insurers, and it's about getting the price out as quickly as possible and the products out as quickly as possible, we're now able to expedite that really quickly with confidence that we're using the data that sits inside our business, and the underwriter is still in control of everything that's happening. So this is obviously quite a cool system. And the really nice thing that I'm going to now show you is that everything we've kind of touched on here is already available inside Azure and inside Microsoft, as we mentioned. It's all just about how we pull it together. So what I'm actually going to do now is bring up Copilot. I'm going to bring up Copilot Studio so you can start to see how these agents are built and what the kind of interfaces look like. So hopefully that now pops through on the screen. And what you're actually now seeing is my insurance submission agent, and I'm actually in Copilot Studio. So this is where I developed the underwriter front end for them to see. And you can actually see, hello, I'm a submission agent. This allows me to test what's going on. And if I scroll down, once I ask it a question, we spoke about how does Copilot orchestrate that multi-agent system. And you can see here, I've got my little API that I mentioned, which is my insurance agent API. And what Copilot does is understand what my intent is and then calls that API. Now, that API, which is just a URL, goes to my Azure AI Foundry interface. Now, this is actually where the customized and specialized agents that I mentioned around the scoring, the products, and the analysis are held. So you can actually see here, I'm just going to refresh this slightly. I've got my scoring agent here. I've got my results agent, which is my analysis agent, and I've got my product suggestion agent. If I go to my scoring agent and I click into it, you can see it's got some instructions, but there's the machine learning, this pipeline that I mentioned that it was running. So it's got this tool and action that it can run if I ask it to do that. And inside here, this is a really cool platform, it's not long released by Microsoft, but it's incredibly powerful. We can actually see some of the conversational threads that are coming through. So there's a wee bit of a lag on it. You can see I was running some this morning, but I can see that Copilot submitted that it wants me to analyze this tech forward company, and it comes back and gives me an overall risk score based on the information that's been provided, just as we completed there. And the last thing I'm going to show, just conscious of time, is that the resource group part of it is to say resource groups. I mentioned building a multi-agent system and taking it into production is more than just Copilot and an AI agent. It's about the overall Azure infrastructure. So actually, I was going to click into here quickly and show you my Azure infrastructure. If I just go here just now. So this is actually the infrastructure which is underpinning the system that I've just run. And you see there's quite a few services, but they all kind of make sense. The ones I want to highlight here is the storage account. This is where the submissions are being stored. We've got our machine learning. We've got our AI Foundry, which is where all our agents are held. Our container is where the API is held. And then we've got a bunch of insights and logging and smart detection enabled there. But to show you just quickly, to round it off, that this was actually run live. if I go into my submissions and I go to the company tech forward, here's all the submission documents that were ran through that machine learning pipeline live and in front of you. And it did that in about 25 seconds. So it's an incredibly powerful tool and ecosystem of tools, I should say. And taking it to production is it's ready at our fingertips. It's just knowing the right architecture to design or how to take it forward. So hopefully that's been good for everyone. I think, Owen, I can pass back to you now.
Yeah, thank you. I don't know about everyone else, but I get really excited about this. The techie geek nerd comes out in me, and I just think the power of this and the way it's going to impact the industry is truly, truly exciting. And I'm going to hugely simplify everything you just demonstrated, Fraser, by saying that it boils down to, because everything is within the Azure infrastructure already, it's really about identifying use cases that would work for your business, being clear about what the success criteria are against that, and I guess ultimately having a really strong team with the right skills to be able to develop and deliver that for you.
Yeah, exactly. I think a lot of agent systems at the minute are failing because maybe not understanding the complexity or the right way to approach how to take these into production. And I think maybe the rise in things like ChatGPT and things like that have been great, but it's maybe oversimplified what a lot of it we need to do. And it's about getting the right skill sets into the business as well. But as you've kind of seen in what we've demonstrated there, it's about having a tangible use case that's got value as well. And it's about making sure that you're designing a solution and ring fencing it for that purpose only. It's very easy to let these systems grow and become too general purpose. They need to be specialized, and they need to be designed in a way that's going to benefit the end user. So there's a little bit of the sort of ideation and use case, and really what is the value is going to be defined up front. And then it's about getting the skills and mobilizing the right teams and approaching it in the right way. The architecture and the technology is there in terms of the agent system you've seen just now can be deployed very quickly, rapid deployment through infrastructure as code and things like that. So it's about just identifying the right use case and having the right success criteria.
Fantastic, thank you. We're going to overrun a little bit, but I think we can do that. I do want to try and get to some questions, and just had a couple through, and one to your point just now. So there's a lot of off-the-shelf solutions in the market. What are the advantages to building an AI foundry versus buying an off-the-shelf solution?
I think there's a lot of benefits, really, and I think if you look at InsurTech and AI in general, they're both booming at the minute, and there's platforms coming up all over the place. But a lot of the platforms that you'll see at the minute are built using the technology that we've just shown you today. They're just encapsulated and packaged up. When I look at that question, I lean towards the build side of it and build it internally, because the tools are available to you inside Azure. And when we think about how workforces are going to develop over the next few years, making sure that we've got the right skills in the business to harness AI, develop AI, and manage AI going forward, because it's going to be so integral, is really important. So I think the fostering that startup culture within your own business and developing a workforce that is able to build smart AI systems and agents is going to benefit the business in multiple different ways, from revenue to time savings, and allow you to actually probably be more customizable with what you're doing as well. But I'd be quite interested to know what Jamie's opinion is on that as well.
Yeah, very much. I think there's a place for those off-the-shelf capabilities. So things like Copilot, which are democratizing, lowering the barriers of entry to agent building, are good, but they can only take you so far. And the ability to customize is limited. And at the end of the day, they are off-the-shelf, almost commoditized products which everyone has access to. But from my experience, it's when organizations get into building their own solutions, grounding in their own data, and building their own IP, is what gives them the best opportunity to differentiate and actually start to establish a competitive edge over their peers in the industry. So I think building is always going to give you more value in summary.
Great, thank you. I'm going to squeeze one more question in. I know we're breaking all rules by going over time, but let's do this. So how well can agentic AI solutions integrate into policy admin systems? What needs to be considered?
Great question. I think there's a number of, I would say, strategic decisions that need to happen. So we think about a lot of policy administration systems. The data might not be in an AI ready format at the minute. And when we look at Azure and we look at even Azure Databricks, the power of data platforms, data lakes and vector stores and databases and things like that in Azure is that they get data into a format that's ready for consumption by AI. So the policy administration system data is 100% ingestible. It's about putting something between that and AI that allows us to interact with it and identifying what the value of it is. So when we look at things like Fabric, we've got the ability to store structured, unstructured data. We've got the ability to put Fabric data agents on top of that now to interact with the Azure AI Foundry. It's just about making sure we've got a roadmap of what the business value is for that policy administration system data and what services do we need to put in the middle to make sure that we're modeling that data, because your generic data that sits inside a policy administration system, if it's just a SQL table, for example, is not currently in the format that needs to be ready for sort of AI ingestion. So we need to do a little bit of work to it. But it's a question we get asked commonly when you think about the system we've just shown you today. That's what we would have to do to really hook up the policy administration system part of that in that agent. But we would create the interfaces, pipelines, and workflows that Jamie mentioned in the framework to allow us to ingest that through and get it through in a ready format. So it's 100% doable. There's just some strategic decisions that we need to make for modernizing the data platform of choice.
Great, thank you. Let's bring our webinar to a close. If we can go on to the final slide. So I think just coming back to the point around bringing this to life for your organization, your business, and your day-to-day work, I'm going to set a challenge. If you had an AI agent that could act autonomously and make decisions, where would it create the most impact in your business? So identify that use case for yourselves, be clear about what the criteria are for success, and then make it happen. I think it's a really exciting time to be working in this industry and working with data and with the power that AI can bring to everyone. So that is my challenge. And if you would like to discuss this more, please do reach out and contact us at Dufrain. We'd be more than happy to discuss this with you as well. So I'd just like to say thank you to my colleague Fraser and to Jamie from Microsoft. Thank you so much for joining today. It's been a really fascinating 30 minutes. I hope everyone on the call, on the webinar today, has learned something and can take this into their day-to-day work. Thank you.